Good afternoon, everyone. It is again a great Friday afternoon here in the Netherlands, but that is an excellent time to stay inside and to, I don't know, work on some writing. Or in this case, well, we are going to work on some writing, but in a different way. Today, we will not be writing words in our novels. Today, we are going to look at naming locations. How do you do that? How can you do that? What can you use? And I have several challenges for you guys to name a location. So, let me see. How do I name locations in Tergene? Well, I'm inspired by several things. And oftentimes I will look at a real location, a real Earth location, and and then see what it looks like, what it might have, what meaning it might have to people on Earth, and to see what they feel about the location, and how shall I say this? What they feel about the location, how the location looks, what the historical meaning of location might be, and then I will look at how that can work in Tergene. Tergene is a world on its own. It's a magical world, and it's completely different from Earth. Well, that is also the fun part of it. It means that you can use actual locations and make them your own. Completely make them your own. Give them the name you want, give them the look and feel you want, and a historical meaning that you find with that location. It's all up to you, and it's all up to what you find in your world, and also how the location makes your characters feel. And you can use a real location as inspiration for that. And that's one of the things I love about using real world examples as inspiration, because that way you can already have an idea of what might work for you, and or rather what might work in your story, and what the impact it might have on your characters in your story. That is why I also look at real world examples, and that's a fun thing to do, because it gives you the possibility to play with things. And if you don't know, if you don't have enough inspiration or enough ideas, then you can simply say, you know what, right now I don't have the ideas, but that's okay. I will just for now use the real name for the location and go with that, and later on change it. And that way you can how shall I say that, you have it in your scene or in your chapter or in your book. I mean, the location might play a vital role in your book, like in my case, Dragon City. Let me see if I can show you a photo of that. Do I have that? I should have it. No, I don't. Not here. That's not handy. I thought I had it with me. as I forgot to put it where it was supposed to be. It's not handy. Here we go. Yeah, let me add one more. It's not. Well, I can. Okay, let me see. Let me see if I can show you guys what I mean. So that you have an idea of what I am thinking about when I say how I use locations. Now, this is one. That's what you get when at the last moment you want to bring in something and it doesn't quite work like you want. Okay, so this is the Han Song-Dun cave, and as you can see, it has a lot of locations, and I don't have the exact image I was looking for right now, but let me see that I can grab another one for you. And that's this one. This is also part of the Han Song-Dun caves. Here you get an idea, part of an idea of how big this cave is actually. And it's one of the things I use in Tergane Chronicles. This is inside the cave, so it's not outside, it's inside caves. You can see a little peek through here, and there's a whole lot more when you go to the right. It's one of the dolmens, as they call it, although these dolmens have a quite different name than what you might be used to. And I have another one also for Dragon City, and that is, let me see if I can find that one as well. Right, this one. This, right, like that. This is in China, I believe, and this is also one of the inspirational images I use for Tergane Chronicles and for Dragon City. As you can see, there are different kind of layers here. Can you see my hand? Yeah, there are different kind of layers there, and that way that might be inside Dragon City, inside the cave. It might also be outside, just outside of the cave, where farms are and things like that. I'm not sure yet. That's something I haven't decided upon. But these are things I use, and this is not the thing I have a name for yet. That is to be decided later on. But the name of the city-state, because Dragon City is city-state, essentially the name covers the whole cave in which Dragon City lies, and I named it because there are a lot of dragons there, and it is the main seat of the dragon companions. It is also the original seat of the dragon companions. So that is why it is called Dragon City. And it's a city-state that will play out through the whole series. I mean, there is, how shall I say that? There is no moment where Dragon City doesn't play a role in one way or the other. Or no moment, no chapter. Dragon City will be, in one way or another, it might be referred to, it might be that people are actually there, it might be that the whole chapter is playing there, so that varies, and that is the importance Dragon City has, and that is something to keep in mind as well when you name locations. If you want a location to be memorable, keep in mind why it is, or why it should be, and what the meaning of that can be for you as the author, for your readers, but of course the most important, for your characters, for your world. How does it play? What is the importance of that location? My apologies. What is the importance of the location, and how does it play throughout the book? Or, like in my case, throughout the series? So those are all things to keep in mind. And things to keep in mind as well is, like I said earlier, the historical meaning, but also how things are called just by the folks. I mean, a location can be given a name based on what the people around the location used to call it, or are used to call it. If you have, for example, a single tower somewhere in the middle of or somewhere on a cliff, for example, what does that tower has name? What name does that tower have? And how is the location? What function does it have? And what function does it have for the people living around it? So those are all things to keep in mind. And if it's a tower near a cliff is often either in close to a canyon, close to a mountain canyon, or close to the sea, close to the river. So depending on where that physical building location is, it might have a completely different meaning. I mean, if you have it at the cliff of a canyon, it might be a lookout point. If you have it at the cliff close to the sea, instead it might be a light tower, or a sort of watchtower for people, for the government to keep track of possible invasions, things like that. And that might also play a role in giving that tower its name. So these are all things I keep in mind when I name things. And sometimes, I mean, it's just really simple the way a thing looks. So those are all things I keep in mind, and I work on, and what I want to, because I want to have a name that is at least remembered by the characters, because at some point, I mean, a character may just, I don't know, happen upon a tavern and just stay there for a night and afterwards nothing's going on, and it doesn't matter anymore. But it might also be that this tavern has a peculiar name, or your character has met someone there someone that becomes important to her or to him, and for that reason your character remembers the name of that tavern. So these are all important things to keep in mind, and to see what you can do with it, and what it might mean for your characters to be there, to be in that location, and to see what, or rather how they can remember that location, because that is what matters when you read a book, and when you tell a story. Those are the things people would keep in mind after the story has been told, and that is what is important. And that is why the naming of locations can be so darn important, because it's not just because the location needs a name. It is so much more. It can be so much more than that. Like the road you see here in this photo. I mean, does it have a name? I don't know. Is it important? It can be. It can be the road that connects two countries. It can be a road that is important, for example, in the trades. Remember the what's it called? The Silk Road. I think it wasn't. Well, of course, it wasn't a silk road, but it was the road that was used by merchants who were selling silk that they bought in China, and they were selling it in Europe. So those are things that that can make a huge difference. So in the end, it was called the Silk Road, the Silk Route, Silk Road, Silk Route. Let me check that just to be sure. I mean, I can say Silk Road, but I mean, it would be fun, right? But I think. I think I might be wrong about that. Silk Road. Yeah, it's the Silk Road. Good, I've got that correct. It's indeed the Silk Road, and like I said, it was a network of trade routes, and it was important because the origin was in the silk. So that is why it was called in the end the Silk Road. So I mean, of course, the road is not literally made of silk. I mean, that wouldn't last long, right? But because of the trade routes that went over there, because of all the merchants traveling there and selling the silk, buying on one side and selling it on the other side, silk and also other items, of course. I mean, it wasn't limited to silk, but that way it got its name, the Silk Road, and that's also a thing to keep in mind. It is one of the possible ways you can give a location, in this case a road or trade, a system of trade routes, to give it a name. And that is how shall I say that? That is one of the fun things. I mean, you do not have to know it straight from the beginning. You can take your time for that. For example, this road you see right now, it might be called, I don't know, the sunny road, because the sun always shines when you ride on that road. It might be something that travelers who travel over these roads always call it, because every time they travel over that road, the sun shines, and it's good weather, etc., etc. While people living around it might not call it that like that, but might call it another way, another name. So that's also something to keep in mind. It might mean something to one group, but it can also mean something else to another group, and it can mean exactly the opposite to another group. And that's also the fun part of it, because that might be a cause of conflict or a cause of confusion when these two groups meet, and people or just some people of these two groups meet, because the one talks about the sunny road, for example, while the other one who lives there and knows that 9 out of 12 months it's not a sunny road at all, and those 3 months are the tourist months, for example, and tourists come and they travel there, and it's always sunny during these 3 months, while the people living there might call it a dangerous road because the rest of the year, those other 9 months, the roads are wet and slippery. So for them, it's a dangerous road, and they might have a special name for that. So when tourists talk about the sunny road, and one of the people living close to it call it the dangerous road, that might cause some confusion, especially if, for example, one of the people living there would give I don't know, directions. You take the dangerous road, the dangerous road there, and you take the next left and whatever. And then tourists are like, okay, but the dangerous road, which road is that? Because I don't know, and that's where the confusion can start. So these are all things to keep in mind. It can be fun to have the confusion about naming of things in your story, and because it can cause confusion, it can cause conflict even, and it can make the story better. So that way you have a story that is more immersive, and a story that relates more to your readers. And that is why it is important to keep things like that in mind. So yeah. Oh, and for the new joiners, I totally forgot to introduce myself. My name is Ilse. I am a magic wielding dragon companion and a creator of worlds, and in this case, it's Tergane, and also the Genema Chronicles, which is a whole different kind of world. It's a game world. And I am here to help you on your author journey. And today I do that with talking about naming of locations. And I promise you, I won't be only talking about the naming of locations. I have several challenges for you to actually name locations. So let's dive into that, because I have several for you, several inspirational images to see what you can make of it. I do it a little bit differently than previous live streams, and then other live streams. I do writing sessions of 25 minutes, but today I decided to make it a little bit different, and I need to check, because this is a challenge purely for coming up with a name and a little bit of background for that location in your story. So instead of writing 25 minutes, we will be working 10 minutes. We will be doing sprints of 10 minutes to get a name and to get that little bit of background information. That is what we will do today. I have loads of inspiration for you, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys think of it. So we talked about the Silk Road, about how that works, or how that name came to be a little bit. If you want to know more about it, here's the Wikipedia page about it. That's the Wikipedia page about the Silk Road and the history of it. And it is a route that is 6,400 kilometers or 4,000 miles. So that is a lot. It's a network of trade routes. So it's incredible. So keep that in mind. I mean, it can be a very small thing, like the road that you see here in this photo, but it might also be world spanning, or it might also, if you are writing sci-fi, it might be something between planets or in the universe. So these are all things to keep in mind. Do not let yourself be limited by an idea or by what you see in the photo. Be as creative as you can with things like that. And I can give you a few more tips to get ideas for names or for locations. I always have I have a Windows computer, so I always have the, the image, the spotlight images, and there are several things that are really fun there. I think I got this photo that you see right now from there. So that is one source. You can also look at things like DeviantArt, shops at Etsy. There are amazing artists who sell their work at Etsy, who make maps, but also who make paintings and things like that. So check that out. And just historical information. See what you can find in your Google feed or in your YouTube feed. YouTube can be very interesting for that as well, especially listicles of certain types of locations or things like that. And of course, Instagram. Let's not skip that. Instagram can be a very interesting source of inspiration as well. So these are all kinds of sources for inspiration, and from there you can see how it works for you, and what a location might how shall I say it? How a location might feel for you when you see it and when you envision yourself being there, because that is what is important when you write a story. It's not just having the name of the location, it's also and that's even more important, and that is what can be a very important part of naming your location. What is the feeling you get with that location? What is the feeling your character gets with that location? And does it add to the mood and the setting that you want in your location? I mean, if you have a sci-fi setting and that plays in space, and you are looking at images of I don't know, like this road, that might not be the best inspiration for a location in your story. It might be. I mean, it depends on how your sci-fi story works. So yeah, keep those things in mind and see what you can do with it. So without further ado, let's get into the first inspiration that I have for you and see what you can make of it. And the first is the name of this live stream, and that's named at Tavern. So I have these two for you. Now, the left one is already named, as you can see, the World's End. It is a famous pub tavern in Edinburgh. I've been there. It was fun to be there. It's a very nice pub. So see what you can make of it. And I mean, maybe you want to give it a completely different name. Maybe you want to give it, I don't know, the Blue Tavern, or something related to the street it is in, or the people who frequent the tavern oftentimes. And to let you think about that, I will go to the timer right now, and you've got 10 minutes to come up with an idea for your tavern. And let me know by the end. My apologies. I think it was about 5 minutes left. Yeah, 7 minutes left. I pressed the wrong button and the wrong key combination. My apologies for that. That's something I still need to fix. And that is the end of our first sprint. So, what did you guys make of it? I decided to. Oh, one moment. Something did not go as planned here. Right. So, what did you guys make of this first? Of this first location idea? The tavern. In this case, for me, I made it a tavern in Dragon City. Dragon City is very large. I mean, it's also in a humongous cave, so it is. It has several terraces, if you will, where parts of the city are, and so you will find several of a similar type of locations all throughout the cave where people live, and but yeah, where people live, but also outside the cave, the outskirts of Dragon City. And in this case, this is a tavern that lies outside the cave, and it is close enough to another city, which is a trade hub in the south of Netoan, and it's near or it's at the road, at the side of the road, between this trade hub and Dragon City. They picked a very good location for that, and it's a very old tavern. It's been there for as long as people can remember. So that's a long time, because when I talk about for as long as people can remember, I'm kind of including the dragons, and the dragons have, shall we say, a history that is far beyond humans, but of course, and of course, Dragon City has all kinds of documents showing where important buildings are, and this tavern is an important building because lots of merchants and other visitors will go to this tavern, and there's one specific reason why they will go to this tavern, and that is the blue jays that are frequenting this tavern. I know I talked a lot about the floods in the past, but the blue jays are also in Tergene, and the blue jays found this tavern way back when, and the beauty of this particular tavern is that it offers, let me say, it offers hideouts for the blue jays, hideouts for them to be protected against predators. So that is why they love going to that tavern. And not only that, because this tavern is on a road to between the trade hub, and by the way, the trade hub is called Devil's Port. I'll get into that later on. The tavern is between Devil's Port on one side, in the south, and Dragon City on the other side in the south, and it gets a lot of visitors, like I said, and these visitors come from all over the world, and of course the people from the tavern want to accommodate all these visitors, so they have all kinds of food, which also means that not only do they have all kinds of food, but it also means they have all kinds of leftovers. And what do the blue jays like? Well, they like seeds, and they like corns, and they like grains. So this tavern also bakes its own bread. So yeah, there are grains, because I mean, they can import, they can buy their meal to bake breads from merchants from bakeries in Devil's Port or in Dragon City, but that means they have to travel a long way. So they will buy meal, but they will also buy grains so that they can make their own mix of a meal for special bread, and not only for special bread, but also for things like porridges and other things that use grains, all kinds of grains. So it's not limited to just bread making. There are loads of reasons to have that grain there, and of course the blue jays use that. Now the people from the one moment, something's not going entirely as planned. Yes, the people from this establishment are of course making good use of that. After all, they have a business to run. They are entrepreneurs. So, what do they do? Since the tavern is famous for its blue jays that come there, and mind you, the blue jays come and they will look for leftovers at the back door of the kitchen, but they will also just visit the terraces because the tavern has a terrace on the roadside, and it has a terrace on the other side where the sun lasts the longest time. So that is the best way to sit, to have a warm place. So the blue jays visit there, and they might, I don't know, nudge a customer here and there for some food. So what do these owners from the tavern, what did they do? They have made all kinds of packages specifically to feed the birds. So customers can buy those small packages and treat the birds. So that is one way for them to get an extra income, and they can keep the customers coming to enjoy the birds, and the birds have easy feed. I mean, let's be honest about that. And they will have easy feed all through the year because the owners of the Blue Jays Tavern have made sure that they always have enough supply to make these small bags of treats for the birds. So no matter how many customers come, they will always have a nice amount of these bags of treats. And of course, it's not just the blue jays who visit. I mean, there are loads of other birds that visit, but the blue jays attract the attention from the visitors. So that is why they come there. Like I said, I would go into Devil's Port as well, and Devil's Port has an interesting history. It is not what you might think. It has nothing to do with the devil. The original name was the Devil's Port because there was a famous merchant who wanted to use his house, and he had his house and surroundings, and he had a little dock outside, of course, but he had a little dock, and that was ideal to have his merchant ships come there, because his people, his captains, knew exactly how to maneuver the treacherous waters there. So they would be they could easily go to the docks because they knew exactly how to maneuver the boats, so that they could easily without wreckage reach the docks. And slowly but surely that place grew, and they got more housing and more visitors and more merchants and more establishments, and then it became the Devil's Port, a real port, and not just his mansion. And in the end, in word of mouth, it became the Devil's Port because the Devil, it was a mouthful, so Devil's Port was easier. And the man who started it all has long been dead for centuries already. But the port grew and grew and grew what it is right now. And it is a bustling trade hub with visitors from all over the world. And you'll see all kinds of items being sold there and being bought and being transported. So it's an incredible an incredible how shall I say it, an incredible city that is also of great use for other cities in a NATO continent, on a NATO continent, because Devilsport is in a way one of the few big trading hubs at the coast of NATO, and through these trading hubs, all kinds of goods are transported into the continent. So it is a very important trade hub, and with the Blue Jays Tavern being there, being close to there, and people, I mean, Dragon City also has a reputation, right? Because it is the seed of the dragons. It is the original seed of the dragon companions. So that is where it all started eons ago. And that is something people want to see. People want to see what Dragon City is like, and they want to see this city in a cave because it is quite unique. And even in the world of Tergane, that is filled with magic and all kinds of things, having a city inside such a huge cave with its own weather system, and with its own rivers and meadows and name it, forests. I mean, small forests, but still. So it's Dragon City on its own is incredible, and having Dragon City and Devilsport rather close to each other, and having the Blue Jays Tavern in the middle, I mean, that for the owners of the Blue Jays Tavern, that is the ideal location to be. So yeah, that is part of Tergane, and it's a fun thing. And it's also fun to include things like the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, after all, are just they are Earth creatures. I mean, they are just birds, normal birds here on Earth. But the fact that they are actual creatures, actual birds here on Earth, doesn't mean that you can't use them in your fantasy setting. I mean, how else would people recognize several things? I mean, the Flood Nymph, because I talk a lot about it, and later on I will show some artwork about it. Well, not today. Later on, as in probably several weeks or maybe longer. So the Flood Nymph will be known as well, and many people have ideas about dragons and other fantasy-like creatures. But why wouldn't we have normal, everyday creatures of Earth in our fantasy world as well? I mean, that is what people also relate to, and how the world becomes more immersive. And in this case, the Blue Jays Tavern, I can imagine this might be a tavern that you would find anywhere else as well. I mean, yeah, the Blue Jays live near the forests, but I mean, if I look here, and then in other locations as well, there's a YouTube channel that I follow, Squirrels at the Window. I mean, that is so cute. But they don't live in a forest, but they have a lot of squirrels visiting. And squirrels, you can find them in parks, you can find them in how do I say that, in forests, of course. So that I'm looking for
channel I was talking about. It's this one. Oh, here it is. Squirrels at the window. It's so cute. And to be honest, I mean, I don't know if it's all um, as healthy as it is supposed to be, but I mean that's all up to you guys to decide on that. But yeah, it's fun, and when you look at that, why wouldn't the blue jays be in the neighborhood as well? So yeah, um, that is why they are in Tergene, and that is why they will visit um, a tavern like this. And looking at more information about the blue jays, um, they if I look at what they use as food, I mean it's peanuts in a shell, but also acorns, beech mast, wheat seeds, grains, fruits, berries, peanuts, bread, meat, small invertebrates, of many types, scraps in town parks, bird table food, rarely eggs and nestlings. So I mean they use all kinds of things. So that is the fun thing. I mean, you don't need to be limited to just what you can imagine can be in your fantasy world. Your fantasy world can have all the creatures of Earth, and on top of that, have loads of fantasy creatures. That is what makes your world immersive. That is what make makes your reader think, oh yeah, I know that, I know that creature, and yeah, they do that, or something like, oh, I didn't know that. Do they do that only in your world, or in my case in Terganate, or do they do that in on Earth as well? And how does that work? And where can we see them, etc., etc. That makes for the immersive world. So that is why I also choose to use all kinds of creatures of Earth in my own books. That's one of the things I love. I noticed that I totally forgot to grab my drinks, so I'm going to take a really short break and get a drink before we move on to the next challenge I have for you guys. So have a, oh, that's not the right one. Let me get back. So have fun, and I will see you in about 5 minutes. And welcome back, everyone. Um, it took a little bit longer than the 5 minutes I had in mind, but okay. I do have my hot chocolate with me. Um, and you see, this is. Oh, I don't think you can probably see it on the camera, but this is a mug I bought in Edinburgh when I was there a couple of years ago on a holiday, and it was fun to be there. One of my how shall I say this? One of my habits when I'm on a holiday is to buy a mug or two or more, depending on where I am, um, of the country I visit or the town I visit. I remember being in Italy. It was quite hard to buy mugs there, and same goes for Indonesia. I've been to Indonesia a few years ago, and several years ago, and it took quite a while before I found a little store where I could find a few mugs. I mean, and those were this tiny, so it's really a souvenir and not really anything more. While if you look at this mug, I mean, I can not even wrap my head around it, my hand around it. I need two hands, but it does have this, so that's not a problem. Uh, but yeah, I always try to buy mugs, and I guess in the Blue Jays Tavern, what I just told you guys about, they might have a similar thing. Like I said, they have these bags with the treats for the visitors, for the treats for the birds. I mean, which visitors can buy, and yeah, that's a fun thing. I'll have to decide if I'll make these bags in a way that maybe they have two versions of the bags. One that's just that can be reused and they can hand it in back to the owners of the tavern. Simple, small leather bag that they can hand it back, or they can keep. And if they hand it back, then they can get a little bit of money back. Um, or and also perhaps a version where it's embroidered, or I don't know, something's been done with it that it's more of a souvenir, that in which they can keep nuts and things like that, with all kinds of food for the birds. So I'm thinking about that. That's also one of the fun things in world building. I mean, it's not just your characters who are on their journey. They will meet. They might meet other people as well, and why wouldn't there be tourists? I mean, people will not only now, but in I don't know, several centuries ago, people would also go somewhere else to visit, or to go to a big market in another town, or go on a short holiday break, things like that. Of course, it depends on what status you have and how much money you have, etc., etc. But these possibilities are there, and why, or rather, people in a few centuries ago had these possibilities. So why wouldn't our fantasy um, characters not have that possibility? So those are all things to keep in mind. And if people can visit other cities just to visit them, and just as tourists, why wouldn't there be souvenirs like mugs, or like pouches in which you can store seeds, and nuts and things like that, or shawls, or I don't know, name it, and anything. Especially things that, for example, a city, or in this case, the tavern, the Blue Jays Tavern, is known about. Um, I mean, in Edinburgh, I remember you could buy tartans and shawls in the colors of the tartans, etc., etc. So yeah, those things, why wouldn't you buy it, and why wouldn't they be sold? I mean, it's an extra source of income, right? And all kinds of I don't know, all kinds of things. It's a way to make money for the people. If you go to Paris, for example, I went there way back when. Let me put it that way. I went there with my parents, and I went there when I was in high school. Um, and I remember it was that before the Notre Dame, or I don't know, in various locations, you could find artists and people selling all kinds of things, but also artists making artwork, making cartoons, making anything with your face, and just maybe a painting or a drawing. So those people are also there, and I can't imagine that those people have only been there for a few decades. I mean, centuries ago they must have been there as well, but it might have worked differently. But these are all things to keep in mind. I mean, these are all sources of income for people. So in a world that is not industrialized like our world is, um, it's a very good thing, actually, to have people who make all kinds of things to sell them on a market or at the roadside, things like that. And that is something to keep in mind when you build your world, and when you make names for locations. In this case, the Blue Jays Tavern. What is it that makes people come to these locations? Um, like the Blue Jays Tavern, the visitors not only come there because it is an ideal stop between Devilsport and Dragon City and vice versa, but it's also the place to see and interact with the Blue Jays, and that is why people come there as well, and that is why people might stay there for a night or for a few nights. I mean, you can, depending on what time you arrive in Devilsport or what time you leave in Dragon City, you might be able to travel, and of course how you travel, but you might be able to travel from Dragon City to Devilsport and vice versa in a day. You don't need to have a night over in a Blue Jays Tavern, but at the same time, it's fun to be there with the birds and with feeding the birds, if you like that, of course. People who are afraid of birds, they might not quite like that, but at the Blue Jays Tavern, they have a solution for that as well. They have a place where that is in a that is, well, how do you say that in English? Oh God, I can't think of the name. I'm sorry. No, it's not classified. I can't think of the name. My apologies. In the Blue Jays Tavern, there's also a special place for people who are afraid of birds. So the owners of the Blue Jays Tavern respect that. So they have a place where the birds won't come, and so people can sit there and relax there, and just have a meal, and that's it. So that's a good thing. So that's also something to keep in mind. If people visit a location, is it a location where they will visit for an hour or so and then move on, or is it a location where they will stay for a couple of hours or for a night or for a few days? These are all things to keep in mind when you're building your world and when you're writing your story, and when your characters are visiting that location. I mean, for example, if one of my dragon companions were to go to Devilsport, um, they'd probably use a horse and not so much a dragon, because I feel the dragons. They might feel not inclined to go to Devil's Port because it's rather boring to them. Um, but they might also go. It's all up to the dragons. But the dragon companions might also go by horse, and by horse you can. If you leave early in the morning in Dragon City, you'll be there probably at night around dinner time, maybe sooner, in Devil's Port. Also, depending on where you leave in Dragon City. I mean, Dragon City is huge, so depending on where you leave in Dragon City, you might arrive in Devil's Port by dinner time, or you might arrive, well, I don't know, halfway in the afternoon. Um, so it all depends if where they come from in Dragon City. How far do they have to travel into Devil's Port, because Devil's Port has grown quite a lot as well, and the time they left. I mean, traveling at night in a world like Tergane, I mean, it's not necessarily always dangerous, but imagine you land like the people like Clara in Outlander. She went through the stones, and she landed a few centuries ago. That's not really easy, and the show also portrays that really wonderfully, because she is used to seeing the lights of other cities where she was, even back in the day, and she doesn't see anything. So she doesn't see any lights. So when she is told that a certain city is that way and is close by, she's like, well, no, that's not possible, because I don't see the lights. Um, Having no lights gives a completely different setting and a completely different mood for your story. Or having no lights at night, let me put it that way. So traveling a road like the road between Dragon City and Devil's Port might not always be the safest road to travel at night, especially at night. Um, I mean, it's well known that merchants might travel it as well. So they all or they often either travel in groups with protection, or if it's a wealthy enough merchant, the merchant himself might travel alone with um, with safety people, with protection. Um, so that that is something to keep in mind. I mean, nowadays we just, I mean, goods are transported in trucks, and there's one chauffeur in a truck, and he or she just drives on, no problem. Back in the day, a few centuries ago, it was a whole different world, even here on Earth. And nowadays, depending on where you live, it might be a completely different world as well. I mean, here in Europe, we are used to a certain amount of safety when we travel on the road. It might be completely different in other parts of the world, and the same goes for your world, for your fantasy world. And that is also something to keep in mind when you think of a name for a location. Like I said earlier, the road you see here in the back might not be the let me take these away. Yeah, like the road you see here in the back, it might not be the safest road, like I suggested earlier, depending on what time of year it is. This might be a highly dangerous road. So the local people might call it the dangerous road, while tourists might call it the sunny road, because they are only there for 3 months in the whole year, and exactly those 3 months it's a sunny road. So that makes a huge difference. And the same goes for cliffs and all kinds of things. So keep that in mind when you are search, my apologies, when you are searching for names for a location or for a building or for whatever you want to give a name to, um, it's not just the building or the location that needs a name. It can also hint at a mood, at a setting, at the dangerousness of a location. So yeah, keep those things in mind. Like I said, I have several challenges for you guys. So I have another one. We've had the taverns. I've shown you a few things of Dragon City. Let me show you. Yeah, this is an interesting one. I found this several years ago. I won't tell you guys what it is right now. I will tell you after we've had our first sprint. But name this location. What is it? Also, what does it mean for your character? What does it mean for your world? What can your character find there? And I don't know. Think of anything. There are a lot of possibilities here. Um, and later on, after our first sprint or a second sprint, I will tell you guys what it is. Okay, what I want to try. Okay, let me see. Hopefully, I can copy it the way I hope, so that you have it in the view in the sprint as well. Yes, I will make it a bit smaller so that you can see the timer, and I will restart the timer. Okay, so that's the location to give a name, and we have 10 minutes for the sprint. I wish you guys good luck and have fun. And that is the end of our sprint. What did you guys make of it? I mean, it is a, how shall I say that? An interesting location, right? So how you guys figured out exactly what it is? Maybe I should give a hint. The name I'm using for it is the Sticky Cavern, and that is because the substance that is dripping down from the ceiling is kind of sticky. Researchers found out that, and it's organic. It's not only sticky; it's organic. Researchers found out that it can't be eaten the way it is. So, because people get sick from it, so they do not want people to eat it. But they found out that if you bake it in a stone oven, you might be able to eat it. It's not bread. It's despite the substance smelling a bit like a dough of bread. Once it's baked, it doesn't have the same texture as bread, so it's not bread. They so far haven't told me the name of whatever it is, but some really genius entrepreneur decided to make it a product to sell, because it appears that in this sticky cavern, this substance is continuously produced. Researchers haven't found out how that's done. Researchers haven't found out why it drips from the ceiling, why what makes up this substance. They don't know. They did find out that it's not poisonous, but their hypothesis is that because it is not baked, somehow the unbaked version, the unbaked sticky substance, isn't good to eat. But once you bake it, it transforms into something else, and then you can eat it. So yeah, that's the gist of it. And this entrepreneur thought, okay, that's interesting. The researchers initially closed the cave because of the fact that people would get sick from eating that substance. And this entrepreneur went to the researchers and came to a compromise with them. And now, to protect curious people from getting sick, there is a special visitors booth, or whatever they call it. That's also something they haven't given me the name of yet. They have a special visitors booth, where visitors can watch the cave, can watch the inside of the cave without being able to touch anything there. And later on, they can buy the baked substance. And researchers found that it has some nutritional value. So it's not, how shall I say that? It's not useless that people visit there. It has a kind of nutrition. My apologies. It has a kind of nutritional value that can't be found in many places. So there is something in this cave, or in the ceiling of this cave, or the surroundings, or the way the cave works with the weather and with the environment and with, I don't know, all kinds of things. Or perhaps creatures that live there. I don't know. I mean, it could be, it's a fantasy world. It could be that there are creatures living in this cavern, that somehow in cooperation, somehow caused this sticky substance to come into being, I have no idea. That's I'm told that is still part of an ongoing research, so I have no idea. But what is this in reality? I mean, of course, in Tergan, I just gave you the name and I gave you the background, the information. But what is this in reality? Well, um, it is related to bread making. This is, from what I found, this is actually dough in the making, a bread dough. And if I remember it correctly, because I can't seem to find it back right now. It's either in a jar, and I think it is dough that was a jar with dough that was originally set upright and then turned on its side, and you see the dough dripping from one side of the jar, dripping down on the other side of the jar. So it actually is bread dough. And I saw this the first time, and I immediately saw this cavern in front of me, where you could. I mean, it's sticky, and you don't want to get the stuff on your clothing and on your shoes and things like that. But at the same time, it triggers curiosity, and it makes people want to go inside to figure out what the heck is in there. And of course, there are loads of people who don't want to go inside because what the heck is in there? I mean, that can be trusted, right? It's sticky, and it keeps falling down from the ceiling. So we can't go in there until the researchers came and it was researched, and it's safe. I mean, if it comes on your clothing or on your skin, it doesn't do anything. I mean, do exactly the what? Yeah, your clothing gets dirty. You need to wash your clothes, but it doesn't hurt or anything like that. You just need to wash your clothes and that's it, or you need to wash your hands and that's it. And I know because I've made bread myself. I hope to be able to do that in the future again, because that takes a lot of energy. I can tell you that, and that is something I don't have right now. But that is what this thing in the picture actually is. So it is not stalagmites or stalactites in a cavern or anything like that. It is dough, bread dough in a jar. That's it. So let me know later on in the comments or right now in the chat, what your name for this location was, or is, and why is this location important, and what, especially for your character, why is your character that has, is your character completely somewhere else, and does she just hear about it? Why is it in your world, and why is it important in your story, and what is the reason behind the name of this particular location? I mean, for me, the sticky cavern, that was almost a given. So yeah, that's a fun thing. At least for me, it's one of those things in Tergane of which I think, okay, you know what, this might be just completely, this just might be completely utter nonsense, but it's a fun thing anyway, so I'm just keeping it in. It's just because, I mean, why we don't need to be continuously serious in a fantasy story. We may just have fun things and sticky things like this. I mean, why do we need to have giant spiders? Why should we only need to have giant spiders and spider webs that you can get stuck in and be eaten later on? Why not something like this that you can eat? Well, okay, you shouldn't eat it probably if it's not baked. I mean, the researchers advise against it. But yeah, why not? I mean, these are things that are part of a world. So why wouldn't you use it in this way? So yeah, that's the background story of the photo that I showed you, and that is how I came to my to the name of this location, the Sticky Cavern. The Sticky Cavern, by the way, is close to Dragon City, but it's not inside the cave. It's somewhere outside, um, and it's possibly one of the reasons why this stuff keeps dripping down, because at this particular location it is relatively warm most of the time of the year, so this stuff can keep on being produced, or however it's come to be, and yeah, so that's it. uh, I'll have to think if this is also something that might be sold in Dragon City, or perhaps even uh, in a special place in Devil's Port, or a special shop in Devil's Port, or something like that. I'm not quite sure about that yet. But it's in Tagane, so I'll just use it the way I see fit, because that's also one of the fun things I see in world building in fantasies. Okay, seeing the time, it's almost 5 p.m. here. I want to do one more. I will give you one more idea. Because I noticed that I'm really starting to get tired, and it's starting to take energy now instead of giving me energy. So what I'm going to do is give you one more inspiration for a location, and we will do one more sprint of 10 minutes. I'm going to see what the location can be. Oh wait, let me just close that one, right? Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I have an idea. I'll need to find it. This one. Okay, you see all these stairs and the water and whatever. What is it? What is it for your character? What is the name of this location? Why is it named like that? And what is the importance in your world for this location? So have fun, and let's start writing. Oh, and let me remove this one. Let me do that first, and get the other one in, so you can have that as a reminder. Let me see this one. Now I will make it so that it is smaller. Okay, like that, and I'll restart sprints again. Okay, have fun, and now I wish you good luck with this sprint. I keep doing that. Luckily, it was just a few seconds. That is the end of our last writing sprint. Um, I hope that you guys managed to find a name for your location, for this last location. Let me know what you did with it, and leave a comment in the comments below to let me know what you made of it. And I'm really looking forward to reading about all your location names and the reasons behind the names and why it is important for your characters and for your story. I named my location. My mouse is not working properly. I named my location Lover's Stairs, or Lover's Well, and I'm not quite sure about the final name yet. It's the stairs are essentially built around the well, and the well is the whole location, I should say, is famous for the way the stairs and the alcoves have been built surrounding the well. So it is the entire location that is important. And the legend behind the Lover's Well and Stairs is that it's said that those who drink from this well together will remain together for all their life. And the water has a beautiful turquoise color, turquoise. What do you say? In the Netherlands, we say turquoise, I think. And it has a fresh, somewhat sweet taste. And it is said that the freshness causes the relationship to be always fresh and good, and never growing bored, and the slight sweetness stands for the affection the lovers will have for each other during their relationship. They might occasionally have quarrels, but in the end, it is a good relationship. Quarrels will be solved, and it will be a long-lasting relationship. So yeah, that is Lover's Stairs, Lover's Well, Lover's Well Stairs. I'll have to think about that. I'm not quite sure yet. This is not a location on Natuan. This is a location on a continent south of Natuan. I do not have the name of that continent yet, but I'll see about that. So that is the idea for this location that I had. And I have to be honest and say that I don't remember where I got this from and what the original idea or the original name for this location is. If I ever find it, I will let you guys know. As you can see, I've been yawning a lot because I'm quite tired. I did sleep several hours before this live stream, but I'm still quite tired. So I'm not going to do any more sprints because it's taking too much energy for me right now. Later on, I will post the other ideas I had, the other inspirational photos, because I have several left for you. I will post them in a video with some more explanation and with what I did with it. And then I would love to hear about what you are making of it, and what your character thinks of it and feels about the location, etc., etc. So I'm very looking forward to hearing about it from you all. Remember to like and subscribe and hit bell notification to be notified of new live streams and the upcoming video about Scrivener, which I think I will be able to publish Wednesday. And I have a few other new upcoming features on the channel. So be sure to hit the notification bell and to subscribe to get all the notifications for the future. Next week we will have a normal writing sprint live stream with several writing sprints of 25 minutes, and by then I will just continue with the Technic Chronicles, and I'd love to hear what you guys are working on. So let me know in the comments, and if you have questions you would like to see answered in future live streams, or topics you would like to see this discussed or talked about or explained in one of the future live streams. You can use the form that's in the description below, and let me know about it. Until then, I wish you all a